Okay, here we are. Welcome everyone, and a very good evening to the One Hub Racing P2 tier, where I'll be your host for tonight. As a little change, my name here is Midsky, and I'm joined in the commentary box by Omi. Welcome.
Yep, hello Mitt. Hello everyone. Looking forward to another race of this championship. Hopefully it is going to be a great one. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, so today we have ended up round 7, the ERT race of Portugal at the beautiful Algarve International circuit, which I'll give you some more information later on. Yeah, today for me P2 instead of P3, so Omi will be filling you in a little bit about what has been going on there in the past 6 rounds, because we've had quite a few races, with last week the inaugural Vegas race. How did that go, Omi?
Well, it was much more cleaner than we expected, luckily. So it was a bit more cleaner, and that was very, very good. We obviously did have a few collisions here and there, but it was pretty clean. We obviously had a battle in the main race between Oshin and JM, and those are two drivers who have been fighting quite a bit at some point of this season as well. So it really was a great fight all the way to the end, but Oshin just picking up a penalty, so it was going to be JM who won that anyway. Oshin picking it up right at the end in the final stages, but it was a great scrap between both of them. There was battles all throughout the field, so it was really a good race at Las Vegas. In the season in general, you also had the Meadows look strong at points as well, and then Miami, Speed Night, and some of these drivers also have made their appearance. Senna, they're very quick at Imola's round as well, and then Quinn was looking good last time out. So there's been a lot of drivers who've been getting involved near the front. Cam Kimum obviously has been making quite a lot of recovery drives as well in the races, so it's always interesting to see how he makes his way through the field. But we've been having a lot of action and a lot of interesting stories all throughout the grid as well, and a lot of different things to look out for.
Okay, that is very nice to hear. In the meantime, I made sure to put up the drivers so you guys can see who is all driving here today, this season in the P2 tier. If we look at the championships online, we see that JM is leading the championship, picked up a race win in Vegas, as Omi just mentioned, so he's leading the championship with 115 points, 40-point gap over Oshin in second with 75, although I see that he did not participate in round 1 and 3 of the season. And currently in third is the Matter, who has also missed 2 races, round 2 and round 4, and is third with 60 points. And after that's fairly close, so Matt fourth, only 1 point behind, Cam K 5 points behind the Matter, and Sen also 6 points behind, and Senna picking up a 3rd place in the race at Vegas. So definitely not everything is said about that, but it looks like the gaps, at least between the first 2 drivers, are a little bit more substantial. And just to highlight GM's performance there, aside from their 8th place in round 1, only podium positions ever since then, so he's really been picking up the pace.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a little update for you all as well. We're going to wait about 4 more minutes as Vesti is struggling to get in. So if he's not able to join by that time, we will be getting underway for you. But obviously we want to give all of the drivers the best chance to join the lobby. And we obviously always hates starting without some drivers, so we're just gonna wait a few more minutes, see if he's able to get in. Hopefully he is, but if not, unfortunately, we are gonna have to start without him.
Okay, thank you for that little update. In the meantime, I will take you over the Season 23 calendar so you know what is all going to be in stock. So since last week, we're now halfway through our season, halfway through our 12-round season with 6 races done. Last week was Vegas. We've also had Japan, Brazil, Hungary, Imola, and our first race was Qatar. And today we're here in Portugal. Next week, we'll have our race in, let's see, Belgium. That is going to be 2 weeks after. We'll be in Spain, so we'll have a 1-week break, followed by Singapore and the lovely track of Silverstone, round 11, and then another 2-week break for our season finale on the 12th of November with the Circuit of the Americas, the ERT of the United States. So that is our full season, and quite some, well, a few newer tracks on there. So of course Qatar, you haven't seen too much. Vegas hasn't been driven on. Portugal hasn't seen a lot of action, and that's where we are today. What do you think about the track, Obi?
Yep, obviously a lot of different selections have been chosen, and obviously we have Qatar and Vegas obviously making its debut in the game, so having it in the first season, you have obviously most leagues doing it in general, but it's usually a good idea to have it in the first season for something new as well. So yeah, but hopefully it's going to be a great race. But yeah, very interesting calendar, because we obviously have some of the great tracks, while we have some tracks that might not be used too much as well. So a really great calendar it is.
It definitely is, and I'm very glad to see Portugal, so the Autodromo do Algarve on the calendar here. To be fair, I think this would be a great track if the F1's not going to incorporate it in the calendar, to use it as a testing circuit, because there's a lot of things that you can test there, and it's a really good driver's circuit as well. I mean, the drivers here won't have too many issues with that because they have their camera placed a little bit higher, but if you have the in-cockpit view, you have quite a few high differences there, and you have a lot of blind corners that you'll have to steer into, so it is a fairly difficult track to drive. I've once driven a lap there 5 years ago, and it was really interesting to go around the track. It's a really beautiful track, beautiful scenery around. It's fairly easy to get towards the track as well. It's located about 15 kilometers outside the city of Portimao, which is one of the bigger cities in the Algarve province, which is well, your holiday province, your drinking province, whatever you'd like to call it, but that's where people go in summer. And also located next to the track is a go-kart track, so if you don't want to go and watch the races, you can also have a little bit of racing yourself there. So quite cool.
Yeah, quite cool. Indeed, we should be getting underway though for you very soon. But Rain, obviously, do you think Rain could possibly make an appearance? There is obviously a slight chance that we could see a tiny bit of rain, so Rain could definitely spice it up as well.
Rain could definitely spice it up as well. You have a couple of the curbs that are quite slippery, so the drivers really will have to watch out for that as well. With a high difference, you already have to keep an eye on how much power you're going to put down. So I think if we're going to see rain, we're going to see quite a bit of carnage ensue around that. So could be interesting for a spectator point of view, but I think the drivers would rather avoid any rain here tonight.
Yeah, and obviously all of the drivers don't really practice for those wet conditions. It's mostly for those dry ones. So usually we do see a bit of a mixed up order in the rain, and obviously all of the drivers, or most of the drivers, unless you're really good in the wet, you don't really often want the wet conditions. Most of them preferring the dries. But we are going to be getting into the qualifying session now. So just a quick reminder for all of you, we're going to have 2 drivers who are not going to be taking part in this qualifying session. JM, Jonas and Vesti, they've got an engine penalty as well, so they'll be starting from the back of the grid and doing a bit of a recovery drive. So that will be interesting to see. We'll obviously find out in a second if Vesti was able to make it into the lobby, because he is one of the drivers obviously who does, as I mentioned, have an engine penalty for this weekend.
Yeah, so those 3 drivers will be doing an outlap to make sure that they have their setup all loaded in, but will not be participating in qualifying, and they'll start from the back of the grid where we're going to have our race here in Portugal. And yeah, before we're going to load in, so you can catch all the action here for qualifying, I'm first going to quickly take you through the sponsors, and then we're going to load in. Because for this season we have a £2,500 prize pool, and that means for the Drivers' Championship, the first place driver will win a £50 voucher for either PS or Amazon, and the rest of the top 5 will have free entry into the next season, which otherwise would be £6. The constructors as well, the winning constructors both drivers will get free entry into the next season, and then we have some great prizes sponsored by NRL. So for the champions, between one of the 3 champions, there will be one driver that is going to get the FGT Elite Light Cockpit and the Elite ES1 Sim Racing seat, as well as 4 drivers placed in 2nd and 3rd. One of them will get the GT Light Cockpit and the ERS2 Racing seat. And for all drivers, also a chance to get the NLR Wheel Stand 2.0 if they participate at least 10 races during Season 23. Furthermore, we are powered by Aztec, who is going to give out these lovely boots for the shortest combined qualifying time. We have Pure Sim Gear, who is going to give the driver with the most fastest laps and poles combined a pair of sim racing gloves or socks. And then we have the Mystery Shirt Box, Vespertine, ERT, who also does the ERT Going Gets Tough Award, which has the lovely prize of a t-shirt. And in order to qualify for that, you'll have to attend all races, finish outside the top 3, and complete all pre-race and post-race interviews. And then finally, we have SimGrid and the Mental Health Foundation. I think it's time to head into the track and let's look at the action.
Yeah.
We are in here. You heard a little bit of sound already. And we should get some view right now. There we are. Let me just put all the details up. Red map had the wet sun, but that does not matter too much. It is a little bit foggy out there only, isn't it?
Yeah. So, well, you had Cam Kidman complaining about it being dry, so it looks like he's one of the drivers who might possibly be strong in the way if we were to see those conditions as well. But Miami currently on the circuit. And he's making his way out of the last turn, about to start a push lap unless he's coming into the pits. So yep, he's about to start a push lap as well. He says he enjoys the flow of the circuit, so let's see how quick he'll be able to go around the circuit. But the circuit does really have a great flow to it as well, doesn't it? A lot of uphill, downhills. It's a really, really great circuit.
It is a really great circuit, so a very nice flow to it. 2 DRS zones as well, 1 DRS detection zone before turn 4, and then the straight you'll have on the long stretch where we find, I think it's either Quinn or the Matter is driving there. So between turn 4 and 5, then we have another DRS detection zone just before turn 15, our final corner of the track. And then on the main straight we will have our DRS zone as we see APX coming around the final bend and set the first lap time, which is a 1:18.8, and that is going to be our benchmark lap time. What kind of lap times are you expecting tonight, Owen?
Now, obviously, I haven't done this track for a while, so I can't even remember the normal lap times, but they're obviously going to continue to improve as well. It'll be interesting to see where are the drivers going to be able to put their cars as well with their qualifying positions. Qualifyings have been very close so far this season between drivers. It's usually the race where someone might take a step forward, but 1 minute 16.664 currently for Oshin, one of the driver who is usually at the top of the table in races and qualifyings. So he's a really quick driver, so he's definitely going to be one for all of you to watch out, as he's pipped by another quick driver as Senna goes into P1.
Yeah, I think judging the times that these drivers do now, especially given their good results last race in Vegas, I think these are around about the times that we should be aiming at. So perhaps we'll see them shave off a couple of tens in their second and perhaps third runs, but I think most of our drivers will be going for 3 runs. It's at least what we are seeing in the other tiers. So we currently have a yellow flag in Sector 1, with just some drivers slowing down. I think one I'm not sure if it was APX or if it was F1 Specialist, who made a little bit of spin in Sector 3 about a minute ago. But it looks like they did not come in, at least as far as I can see. So that should be all okay. But we have 16 drivers here today, and 2 of them not participating because it was Vesti who had the 3rd engine penalty, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we don't see him yet, so hopefully he'll be participating and joining us after qualifying. Means he'll be starting in P17, and if we don't see him tonight, well, that would be really unfortunate. But we'll still have 14 drivers that will be competing for the pole tonight, as I believe the matter is currently on a quick lap. And has completed this lap, but not very quick, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, with Vesti, it looks like earlier on he did, as I mentioned, he was the driver who we were waiting for, had those lobby issues. So it does look like he wasn't then able to get in. So we did get underway. So you'll see if we can get in possibly, and then we could maybe see if he can start right at the back. But it will be interesting to see how it goes. But he wasn't able to get in earlier. So we'll see if he's still on, or has he now fully gone off. But right now 16 drivers will be in the race as well.
In the meantime, we are on board with Rydog, our only driver currently on a hot lap. We have F1 Specialist, Cam Rules, Fatality, and Ratmat, who's also just started his quick lap. We can see Rydog currently in Sector 2, really riding the apex there. Went fairly wide in turn 4, but thankfully didn't pick up any track limits there, as he's now entering into the slower section of the circuit, as he'll have to really stamp on the power here, get a great exit, and get a good run down into turn 15. Turn 15 with the name of Gal, as I'll take you through the names of the corners later on. And Rydog is going to set a wonderful 117.5, currently putting him in P5, just a tad behind Kavke. Will have to pick up the pace a little bit more if he wants to contest Senna and Oshin for that pole position.
Decent lap there by Rydog, as you said, as well. But drivers now coming into the pits will about take a 1 minute or 2 minute breather, maybe see as well where they could possibly gain some time and then start heading back out onto the circuit, maybe even watching some other drivers for a tiny bit in this session as well, because you do have a few drivers who are attacking, like Cam Rules and Specialist. They're all pushing right now as well. Specialist coming all the way to the end of his lap, so it'll be interesting to see what he is going to be able to do as he's going to make his way through. So will be very exciting to see if he can get a good... Oh, he's invalidated. There we go. I went off board with him as well momentarily, but he has invalidated that one. But Campbell's still pushing on there as he goes through the middle sector there, as well as he tries to gain through these very different parts of the circuit where you got uphill and downhill. It's kind of a roller coaster around this part of the circuit as you really try and gain the most time you can through the apexes as well. And we're about to see again, might just want to get one lap underneath, because there has been a few other drivers who've also had a few laps with mistakes, but he's going to dive it in, regroup and go for it again.
I think a wise decision there. That little mistake will mean that you're not going to get a very quick lap on the board nonetheless. So we're currently on board with Redmat, who I think is going to go into the pits now, because he and Fatality just did a fast lap on 16.8, so they're fairly close towards the top runners. Also drivers currently on an outlap, but I believe APX was on the outlap first, and he is indeed on a quick lap now, 7/10 up on his previous lap, which would put him right at the 118.0 zone. He does manage to do a 118.3, jumps a few positions, but does stay in position 10, at least for the time being. I think that we have Quinn and Miami currently on a fast lap as well. And there goes Quinn.
Yep, Quinn and Miami. Obviously, Quinn performed very, very well last time out as well. Miami has been also making a few appearances throughout this season, but near the top. But it's all about how often can you stay up there right at the top, just like, for example, JM who has been able to do so, and that's why he's your championship leader, constantly up there, minimizing those bad results, and in such a close and also when the drivers are such closely paced, you also got to be maximizing those results. And really qualifying, as I've said, they've all been close. Races have been close as well. But it's all about, they're just always different drivers bringing the fight to him. But he's the one who's mostly up there, as Miami about to come over the line from P5. Is going to go up to the front row currently as it stands. So really, really close as he goes 4 thousandths ahead of Ushin. And that is going to be Quinn. Finding an improvement to P6 as well. So they're both set there lap times, but a good improvement there by Miami as well. So looking really, really close between the top 3 in this session, 21 thousandths of a second. So looking close at this stage, and hopefully it'll get a bit more closer as a few other drivers can also start to push and try and bring the fight and try and challenge for pole position in this qualifying session. Just under 7 minutes to go.
Interestingly, Senna just entered the pits after being a 10th up on his fast lap time. It sounds like he was not all too happy with his lap time so far. Looked like the time that we're aiming at, if we're going to see drivers going for a pole, is about a 51.6, 51.5 in Sector 2, and in Sector 1 you're aiming at a 21.8. So those are the key sector times that we'll be looking at. Anything slower than that, meaning that the drivers will not come all too close to that pole position. In the meantime, I want to go on board with Gazaman, who has just started his quick lap time, and it's going to be coming round turn 3 here. A very fast Sector 1, corner 3 called Lagos, named after the city Lagos. Very, very close to Portugal as well, as he's now in the first DRS zone. It has a 22.3 sector, so the first sector has already lost quite a substantial amount of time. He wants to go for a pole position there. So there's about half a second for him to gain there, but going through the second bit, really maximizing his positioning on track, making sure that he takes as much curve as possible and has the shortest line possible as well. He now goes into the quick right-hander. Very hard to judge the apex here, but this line is very beautiful.
Oh.
But a little bit too much speed here, and he does tap the back of the wall there. Not sure if he has any damage there, but that surely does ruin his run here in qualifying.
Yeah, absolutely ruined his run. Obviously, Gazaman recently getting the game as well mid-season with us, and then he's taking a tiny bit of time to get back used to it. So we're not really expecting to see him near the top table right now as well, and challenging for those higher positions. But he's surely going to be using this season to work on it, and then possibly next season back in the game. Obviously got the game recently, so getting used to everything as well, and trying out his best as well to improve on the game. Obviously there'll be a lot of improvement over time, so he's going to use this season to continue to improve, and then maybe into next season he can start possibly challenging as well for those higher positions that all of the drivers, when they go into a season, do aim for. So let's see them in this one. Obviously JM has done very well this season so far, as we've already touched on. Speed Knighton, that finding 4/10 through the first sector, so he looks like on a good lap. But you might be gaining a lot through the first sector, but you've got to keep it going in the second sector, and with these very fast uphill, downhill corners as well, very easy to just lose the rear end, be a bit too greedy on the power to gain those extra few thousandths. It's risk versus reward, and there you go. Speed Knighton once again almost losing the car, but he is going very quickly as well. On his lap time, almost a second improvement, but he is 2.3 seconds off the pace overall so far as it stands, and he has invalidated as well. Has Speed Knighton, but trying to gain those extra thousandths. It's risk versus reward. It'll either pay off, you've taken the risk and you've got your reward, or the risk hasn't paid off, and you could find yourself with, for example, the invalidation. But obviously in the last runs, the drivers will be trying to gain those extra thousandths, because those extra thousandths could be getting them higher positions on the grid. And for the drivers who think they're challenging for pole, obviously, then possibly even pole position. And that's definitely what Ushin and Miami set up. Those three currently need as well. 21 thousandths, as I've said, separating them. So a few extra thousandths for them could change the order a tiny bit there.
We're now entering our final 3 minutes of the session, but we see a lot of drivers struggling with grip here on track. We saw Ratmat going for quite a few drifts there, and he will have to abort his lap if he wants to go for another fast run here. What I've also noticed that a couple of the drivers that have set fairly fast first lap times, most notably, I think it's Oshin who stayed in so far. He has only done one quick lap, so he might have an extra set of soft tires that he can use in the race. Miami, of course, went for 2 quick runs. Fatali aborted his second run. Same goes for Matt, I believe, as Quinn has set a fairly fast lap time, a quicker one with a 1:17.2. And in the meantime, most of our drivers are in the pits or either on an out lap, although we have Rydog who just started his quick run as he makes his way through corner 4 and is going to be heading up into the hairpin, which is called the Torre VIP. Not entirely sure what that would mean or would refer to, but it looks like Rydog is on a pretty good lap with a 21.8 currently in the first sector. Now making his way through the fast right-handers, heading into turn 8, which is Samsung. And then afterwards he will enter turn 9, which has the legendary name of Craig Jones. Now, most of the F1 viewers or drivers will probably not know who that is, and that makes sense because he is a former World Super Sports rider. So in the bike series that we have there, he unfortunately passed away some time ago, but he has his corner named after him here. And we now see Rydog making his way through the final bits. Did not keep a full eye on his second sector time, but I think he's on for a fairly quick run. He is going to improve quite a little bit, only just a little bit, 9,000ths that he is quicker. And I think the best thing that we can do now is jump on board with our current provisional pole holder, which is Senna, and he sets the fastest lap time. So the time to beat, 1:16.565. That is what Miami, Oshin, Fatali, and Ratmat mainly will be aiming at, but perhaps some of the other drivers can come up with a surprise as well.
Absolutely. He set the lap time. For the rest of the field to chase, it's all over to them now to see if they're going to be able to respond. Miami about to begin a lap as he's going to make his way out of the final corner. So it's going to be interesting as he is going to put foot to the floor then and begin this lap. Going to be a crucial lap for him. If he wants to challenge, he's going to have 9. He's got about 10s to gain. So does Oshin. So let's see. Are they going to be able to gain it on this lap? And they're obviously going to have to. They're going to be able to see if they are up on Senna. So Senna went first. Now these guys might be pushing a tiny bit even more once if they do see that they're down. So it'll be interesting to see if they are finding the time. And it's all going to be about if they can gain those extra 1,000 to try to take pole.
In the meantime, we are on board with Camke, who is one of the first drivers to go with their fast lap time. Let's see what they can do in the sector. They're up 4/10s at the moment with a 51.9, which is about 4/10s off of your pole time, but that would mean a couple of places improvement, as Camke is currently looking at a P6, about a 1:17.1 or 0 that he's aiming at, unless he loses a little bit of time. Cam Rules has retired, F1 Specialist has taken the flag, and Senna is currently in the pits. So we're going to see our drivers come around the final bit as Camke indeed sets a 1:17.102, as we now will quickly move over to Miami, who is already in the third sector and is going to set the next lap time. The matter has come across a 1:16.6, very close to Oshin at Miami. At Miami, is he going to do one better? Has to contest pole. He gets provisional pole, a 1:16.540. Can Oshin still beat that? He is quite a bit quicker. He goes a lot quicker, a 1:16.3. A massive lap from Oshin. And is anyone going to contest that? Matt is quicker. He does! He's even quicker!
That was lap after lap after lap. You take it away, then I take it away. It was absolutely brilliant where one driver took pole and then another one was able to go even faster. Improvements all the way to the end. Redmat setting an absolutely brilliant lap there. It was Miami then who was able to take it. Then Oshin. Then it was Redmat right at the end by 34,000ths of a second. We expected it to be close. It was close, and that was a brilliant qualifying session with all of the drivers really pushing to the limit, and it was Redmat who was able to go fastest of all around this Algarve International Circuit.
Yeah, to be fair, when I saw the lap times come out from Senna, I didn't think we would be going much quicker than a 1:16.5, so it was already very surprising to see Oshin dive into the 1:16.3s but it is Ratmat who can do just a little bit quicker and snatching pole away with a couple of hundredths of a second. And here we have our standings as we move in. So Ratmat at 1:16.307, which is pole position, followed by Oshin, second in championship, also starting in P2. Then followed by Miami, Senna, The Matter, Fatality, Cam K, Speed Knighton, Quinn, and Gazaman round off your top 10. And then followed by Rydok, APX, and Cam Rules that make up the top 13. And our drivers that did not set laps, so Jonas, the F1 Specialist, and JM. And of which Jonas and JM have taken their engine penalty, so they were not able to set a lap. Although I'm not entirely sure what happened to F1 Specialist. Do you have any info on that, Omi?
Nope, wasn't able to get anything on him, but yeah. So we're going to be heading into the race, an action-packed race coming our way as well. And let's hope we do get a good race, a very great qualifying. Let's see if the race can live up to the standards as well. So let's see as we look down. Once again, looks a bit cloudy, but seems dry at the current stage, but it can easily change as we get further into the race.
Have we gotten any notes from the drivers that we might see some rain during the race? Because, of course, for us commentators, it's a little bit harder to see whether it's going to rain and what the projection is going to be for the race. But with these clouds overhead, I do worry slightly that we might see some rain at some point in the race. So, kind of curious, did any of the drivers pick up or mention anything about it?
Well, I haven't seen anything yet in the Discord right now. So let's see. Because anything is obviously possible, but once again, it's threatening. But obviously, sadly, as you said, we don't get to find that out. But I guess we just have to wait and see then what is going to come our way.
Alright, well then for the time being, we'll have to assume that it's just a little bit cloudy, but nothing too more from that. Normally, temperatures are fairly high in the Algarve. Even around this season, you can still expect 25 to 30 degrees out there, with perhaps a little threat of rain, but usually not too much rain going on there. Of course, in the summer, that's the time of the year where you don't want to be at least racing here, because you do have threats of forest fires quite a lot there in Portugal. Usually, well, it's not uncommon for a forest fire to be there every year, and there is some effect to it, but usually does not threaten the cities if you are ever going to go out on a holiday there. So it should be quite safe. It's usually all cordoned off with zones and with highways. Of course, the drivers today will not have to worry about that, because the fog that we see is not burning wood. The only thing that they can possibly worry about is the rain that we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, that's going to be their really only main concern in this race. Reminder, 2 stops are mandatory in all one hub races. If you, I always like to remind people, just in case, if you are first of all joining us for the first time, or you are, well, here we go, we're about to get underway for the formation lap, but yeah, or if you guys are obviously you sometimes just need a reminder, because obviously one of the only leagues who actually do it as well. So a nice little different thing. It really makes the race more exciting for us. And a lot of strategies. Obviously, it means that the drivers start on a lot of different tyre compounds right at the start. It's a mix of soft and medium for the field.
I mean, in the meantime, get those right in front of us. So indeed, most drivers on these softs and mediums, as you mentioned, with most notably Oshin starting on these soft compounds. I believe he saved an extra set of these soft compounds, only going for 2 runs in qualifying, in contrary to the other drivers that mostly went for 3 runs. So he has that fresh set of soft tires, and I think he might be going for a soft medium run here with the 3 stops, or 2 stops that I'll have to make in these 33 laps around this circuit. So he'll be eyeing to get a quick lead over from Matt, try and pull at least a DRS gap, and then stay firmly in there, go for the early pit stops, and then try and manage the gap from there on. Senna's looking to do a similar thing together with Fatality, and then in our mid pack we see 5 soft runners, so Speed Knighton, Quinn, Gazaman, Rydok, and APX, and finally JM, our championship leader, starting from all the way in the back as we see some drifting going on by Ratmat. I'm not sure if that was intended, but it sure is a way to get your tires up in temperature. So I'm not sure how much damage he's doing to those tires.
Absolutely. And Red Mat's livery there as well kind of is a tiny bit like the Van Amersfoort livery as well, obviously being taken to victory earlier this year by Richard Rashaw right at Austria in the F2 feature race, but kind of does remind me of that livery, as I also read earlier on. Red Mat's livery kind of looking like the Van Amersfoort as well, with a tiny bit of their colours. But here we go, they're all lining up, and it should be a very exciting start for the race.
In the meantime, I just checked in the Discord chat real quick to see if the drivers mentioned anything about a threat of rain. There has been no comment about that, although if I look around, well, it looks like it's just our view that we have here, but that is not any rain there, as we should see the lights switch on any moment with all drivers in position. And when everything is reset, the lights are going to come on. We have 3, 4, and 5 red lights, and we are on our way with a good start for Ratmat. If I saw that correctly, he indeed has managed to pull quite a gap, and Senna has been flying off the start as well, immediately taking over that position from Miami. A little bit of tossling going around there through the first couple of corners, but it doesn't look like anything too much, at least with incidents to be going on. We do have a yellow flag, and I believe that is Gazaman, who has, well, cut the track off a little bit, but I think he was pushed off in the first corner and has lost at least 6 positions due to that. It looks like Oshin is already picking up the pace and trying to amp up the heat onto Matt, because he will have to come by him as quickly as he can and try and pull the gap.
Absolutely, Miami there losing a position to the matter as well. Senna got a really great start as well from the inside line as well. So he started on the dirty side of the grid, and he was able to move over up to the outside line to try challenge Ush. He's now all over the back of Redmat on the soft compound of tyres. So that is why you are seeing right now Redmat under massive pressure as well. So that's how Miami was lost the position there. So the matter being able to improve one at this stage of the race, but we should be getting some overtakes happening very shortly. She is tucked up right behind Redmat as they make their way about to begin lap number 2.
Yeah, immediately using his overtake there. We saw a little bit of drifting from Radmat coming out in corner 15, and it is Oshin already completing the move before the start-finish straight, as we see Senna try to follow straight away as well. But he's still behind Ratmat for the time being, as we see the Matter go for a dive down the inside. And even though he tries to make it stick, it doesn't seem like he has the overtake fully done on Senna. He's trying to go around the outside of turn 4 on those medium set of compounds, but I think if Senna just breaks a little bit later, he should not have too many issues there. But the drivers are still side by side. They have been for about 3 quarters now, and now finally, I think Senna has made it work. Yeah, he has kept his position there, but lost quite a bit of time towards Redman. And that is a driver that he will like to overtake as quickly as possible, because he's in a different strategy to Redman. Remember, Redman and the Matter are on medium sets. Oshin and Senna are on soft sets. So they will want to get an early lead and then later on have to defend that gap that they have created.
Yeah, absolutely. Dropping down the order seems to be our championship leader. It is our championship leader as well. So it looks like he's not had the best start, starting obviously near the back due to that engine penalty, not qualifying in qualifying. But yeah, if your name is Senna, you want to be right up with Ushin. You want to be with the nearest soft runner, and he's going to make this move easily. He's going to pull out of the system, go to the inside line, as well as he goes now to make the move as well to take second position, and now he can try and get inside Ushin's DRS and just stick with him as well. But going to be an interesting scrap all the way through, because obviously the strategies later on, then the medium runners, once they have the soft runners, when they have the soft as well, they can probably try and fight back. So a lot of strategy games to happen, but if you are on the mediums, no point currently defending far too much from the soft runners. They're going to be faster at this stage, but there'll definitely be opportunities for them to come back later on.
Yeah, most of our soft runners have gotten some positions gained already, most notably Oshin and Senna, as we seem to have a little bit of laggard decing going on there, and that has cost Senna a little bit of time, meaning he's now 1.3 seconds behind Oshin, and it has fallen outside of that DRS window, which he could very well use on the long straight, because remember, he will not have DRS now. Behind him, 5 tenths, Retmat, That gap has now thankfully increased a little bit, but he will need to watch out on the long straight that he doesn't get overtaken already, and he is indeed using some ERS to try and defend from that, although he has managed to close the gap up towards Oshin. Has he still got enough time to get that DRS on? He does not, unfortunately. Speed 19 has rejoined the session, seemed to have some issues with that earlier on, and the drivers behind Senna indeed not able to overtake him for now. Cam K is also trying to close the gap towards Miami a little bit, try to go for a 5th place, but he will need to look in his rearview mirrors for at least a few more laps, because Fatality and Rydog very, very close to him and on softer sets of compounds.
Yeah, absolutely. So he's going to be looking in his mirrors and ahead of him as well. You got to know what's around you fully and make sure that you do fight the battles that you need to fight. But then also be careful at the same time to not lose time and don't get involved in unnecessary scraps as well. Miami, that's struggling as tiny bit as he got on the power. But they're all really, really now at this stage of the race just trying to just currently stick with each other in a bit of a DRS train. No desperate moves right now needed. Apex has had another spin, it looks like, and it looks like, yep, he has, and he's going to lose the position to Speed 19, so he's going to drop right to the bottom as well. The bottom 3 have all had a few moments in this race so far. But now, Senna is really close to the back of Oshin as well. Is he going to actually fancy this race lead already? He's going to have the DRS. That's how powerful it's going to be. He's not even going to have to use DRS. He's already alongside and he'll tuck back in onto the racing line and he'll be through. So Senna now takes over P1 on the soft compound of tyres as these two now just make their way through with that current strategy right behind them. They do have the medium runners though as well. And also, oh, right. Nightingale retiring as well, but I have to say it is really interesting because we have the softs, then mediums, then softs, then mediums. If you look at the tires as well, exactly. We have the soft, medium, and soft.
Yeah, they're wonderfully split so far, but the soft runners, although they have gained a couple of positions, at least Senna has gained 3 positions. Oshin's still the same place where he started. But I think what them two have to do now is use themselves a little bit, help each other out, and make sure to make good use of that DRS, leapfrog each other a little bit, and try and use that to gain a little bit of a gap onto the medium runners behind. Because if they don't get too much of a gap, then later on in the race, towards the final stint, they will likely be in a little bit of trouble as the runners behind them will have fresher tires and perhaps even the soft sets if they manage to save them for all the way at the end. In the meantime, all of our gaps are very close. We have a DRS train all the way up into P8 as it looks like the Matter is going to go for an overtake on Red Mat and has completed that move.
Yep, the Matter making the move as well. With DRS, they're just making an easy pass, as you said, all of them in a bit of a DRS thing. Specialist making the move on Cam Rules there, so he's moving up into 11th position currently as it stands. Both of the drivers on the medium compound of tyres. Cam Rules does want to fight it back, but that is very tight as they both got on the brakes. They're banging wheels, and it is the early stages of the race, but they are racing a tiny bit. That it is, that we are right at the end of the race already, but it is going to be Specialist just ahead of Cam Rules as well in this little scrap as Cam Rules struggles to get on the power. But you got to be careful. You probably want to come in when the softs start fading. Don't waste time too much. And the Madder has gone off the road as well. So yeah, the Madder's gone off the road. He's going to lose third. He's going to lose fourth. And it looks like he's just going to rejoin ahead of Cam K Mum as well. So unfortunate for the Madder, that ruined some of his overtaking work that he's done over the last few laps.
Yeah, that is very unfortunate to see because he was closing the gap towards Oshin. It's starting to look like the softs are starting to fade off, and you've reached that cutoff point where the mediums are now the faster tires on the track as we enter our lap 7 and now have 6 laps completed. Cam K is very, very close to the Matter and is going to try and make a move down the inside, but decides better if it was not fully alongside and could not make that move stick, so stays behind for the time being. Behind them, the gaps are starting to increase a little bit, and indeed the soft runners of Fatality and Rydog are starting to lose the connection with the medium runners up front and are no longer within the DRS zone, so just our top 6 that is within that DRS train as we have yellow in sector 1, and it is, I think it's F1 Specialist who has either spun out or picked up a little bit of damage. If we're going to look at his car, is he missing any front wing end plates? He is not missing any, and I think we'll see something like this fairly often tonight. I think we've already seen it 3 or 4 times, but it's very easy to lose the car here because you have to keep an eye on your car and make sure you have enough grip, because you really have to look for the grip here. As we see, Specialists also go a little bit wide here, but here through turn 8, also a very easy corner to lose grip. So we'll see quite a few drivers, I think, going for some spins, but because there are no walls close, I don't think they'll have to go for pits and repair wings or anything of sorts. So that is a little bit better for them, as we saw Apex make his first stop and is now on the hard set of compounds.
Yep, absolutely. Campbell's picking up a penalty as well, but yeah, we saw it quite a bit as the Madder gets past Miami into turn number 1. Jonas gets past the Ride Dog as well. Yeah, we obviously saw it quite a lot in qualifying when the drivers were pushing on. We've seen it quite a bit in the race. Also, some side-by-side contact, definitely a possibility when the 2 drivers going wheel to wheel and neither one of them want to give an inch. You could see that happening, and Cam Rules has gone off into the gravel track once again, so another moment for him as he'll rejoin the road back in P14. But yeah, quite a few drivers making mistakes. Lap 8 out of 33 we are currently on, with Senna Ushin on the softs leading the way, but the softs, as you mentioned earlier, might be starting to get away from them as the medium runners start to inch their way towards them as well. So the medium's getting better at this stage of the race. The softs starting to fade. So when are you going to box off the softs is going to be the question. But you don't obviously want to have too much old tires as well, and don't want to get swallowed up. So you really want to time all of the pit stops to perfection. As Red Matter struggling a tiny bit to get on the power with a bit of traction, but other than that, all good. Well, here we go. Senna diving it in. Safety car. Safety car. Campbell is retired.
That is perfect timing for Senna, because you now have the start of the safety car. Senna just came in at the start of this safety car. He'll be able to catch all the way to the back because the drivers in front of him will have to drive slower. And then the other driver's likely going to go for their pit stops at the end of this. He has now switched to the medium set of compounds. But for the soft runners, this is about the perfect moment, because I was expecting the drivers to come in either this or the next lap. I think Oshin was also planning to come in next lap. But now he's going to have a little bit of an advantage and can come in for the medium sets. I think our medium runners are likely going to come in for hards as well and try to go for a little bit of a longer second stint, so they can continue the race the way that they at least want to towards the end of the race, as we're currently seeing who the safety cars to pick up, because the safety car has not picked up our race leaders yet. So that might mean that Senna does not have all that much of an advantage from these situations, because there is of course a delta you need to adhere to. The drivers need to slow down a little bit. But yeah, cab rules, DNF, I think 2 mistakes there throughout that race, but I do think he hit the wall there at the beginning of sector 3. That is where this incident happened. And I think we should go towards the front of the field, because those drivers are now all going to come in, and it is going to be super important to see where they are going to come back. Still have to figure out a little bit with the colors who and who are teammates. Arshin and Ratmat teammates, or are they not?
Who again?
Oshin and Ratmat, because I do assume they're both coming in, and if they're teammates, well, they'll have to wait a little bit on each other. Do we have any teammates close to each other?
Well, obviously, we don't really know who's actually in a team due to the pit box randomly assigned. Obviously, they try to work it out in qualifying, but there we go. There we go. We can now see a tiny bit of it, of the stacking going on. But usually they try to work it out in qualifying. But at this stage, a free pit stop, even if you're going to get held up a tiny bit, a free pit stop is really just better anyway, in general. Really still helpful, and you might lose a few seconds, but you'll still be gaining rather than staying out. But yeah, the safety car should be picking up Senna this lap then.
Yeah, and all of our drivers have now come into the pits. Senna has indeed kept his lead, but we saw a few drivers having to wait for their teammates making a pit stop. So the Matter at Miami had to wait a little bit in the pits, meaning that they lost a couple of positions there. So we find Ratmat in P3, Cam K in P4. Fatality has retaken position 5 from them. We find Jonas Ulbricht, P8, Rydok in 9 and top 10. Rounding off, we find Quinn. As JM has also picked up quite a few places, and I think the safety car has not come in quite bad for him either, because remember, he started on the softs too, made up a couple positions, so started P16, now P11, and because of the safety car, all the gaps are going to be closed. Let's see what laps or what tires that he is on currently. He has switched to the medium tires. So that means that he has free selection of tires towards the end of the race. Most of our drivers have already adhered to the different set of compounds, so the mandatory switch between tire compounds. I believe Kamke is one of the few drivers that does not have a choice in that, but they can decide to go for an early second stop, switch to the hards, go for a late stop, a long stint on the mediums, and then try and drive it out on the softs.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see what they all do with their stints as well. Lap 10 we are currently on, so the safety car should be coming in at the end of this lap that we are now beginning, with Senna, Oshin, Redmap, Cam Mum in fourth, and then Vitality, the Madder, Miami, Jonas, Rydok, Quinn, the top 10 in this one. So will be interesting to see. Are we going to be getting any other changes all throughout on the safety car restart, or are they all going to sit back and wait? Obviously no DRS for the first 2 laps, but we're most likely going to see some kind of moves on the restart for some of the drivers, especially Jonas on the softs might be looking a tiny bit racy, and Redman might be coming a bit under pressure on those hards as well, sitting in P3. But that could possibly be some places that you can look out for the drivers behind to try and make some overtakes on them. Obviously Jonas will be the driver making the overtakes in front. Redbat will most likely be on a tiny bit on the defense as well on those hards, but once he does get in a groove, once he does warm those up, he should hopefully just about be able to stick with those mediums, as we've seen quite a bit. If you can just stick into DRS, can be really helpful for your race as well. As the final car, Specialist about to close in. There we go.
The safety car in this lap. Just something interesting to note, we saw Specialist come in for his second pit stop, and he has switched to the hard compound, so technically could go all the way to the end, but will need to drive 22 laps on those hard set of compounds. So he's going for an alternative strategy because he was already outside of the top 10. So I hope his strategy at least can make him gain a couple of positions, but definitely not an easy strategy for him to take. In the meantime, we are on board with Senna, who is leading the safety car queue, and once he decides to go, we will see all of our drivers try and overtake him down the long straight. So I think Senna will want to wait for at least the inside of corner 15, or wait as long as possible, but he is indeed going to go with the start of corner 15, and will try and get a gap as soon as possible. He is indeed using that ERS towards his defense. He does not want to be overtaken straight away, and it looks like Kamke has immediately left a little bit of space between him and Redmat. Also a bit of time there, as we see Quinn and Rydog fighting for position 9, with Quinn taking over that position, but aside from that, no further overtakes.
Yep, no further overtakes. Indeed, JM there trying to put a nose in as he tries to move up to P10. He isn't going to be able to make the move down there as well. The matter looking close to the back of Fatality, who parked it really in the middle of the road as well. Lap 12 out of 33. Now we are on, but not too many changes, but now they're all going to be sticking together. Red Map able to stay in that third position. Now he's just going to try and stay inside the DRS of the cars ahead and just stay in this one. Jonas, they will surely be trying to make some moves on those soft compound tires. Will have that advantage at this stage of the race, and if you want to use the soft tires, you've got to use them now before they start to fade away, because they can fade away, as we found out earlier on, quite quickly, as Apex gets a 3-second time penalty. So Jonas is really going to start making moves very shortly as well.
We'll have to see if he can make something work now, because he's already using his ERS down the final corner 15. He's now extremely close puts it back off Miami, less than 3 tenths behind. But look at that at the front. Oshin is very close to Senna and has gone for an overtaking move. But has he made that move? Sticks like quickly switch over to our leaders. Oshin is still behind Senna. It seems to have a little bit of a better line towards turn 3 and now into 4. And this would be our first DRS zone, but DRS of course will be activated in the next lap. So we'll have to wait a little bit. But looks like on these medium set of compounds, Oshin has a bit more pace than Senna does. So Senna will have to watch those rear view mirrors properly. Oshin so far not under threat for Ratmat, but he is not too far away. 6.5 tenths, now 7.5 tenths. But of course he is on those hard set of compounds. Further down the field, the Matter is coming awfully close to Fatality and might make a move down the inside here. Very unconventional position to try and do it. And he indeed is not able to make that move stick either, as he's now looking to close up that gap towards Fatality, who goes a little bit wide into turn 13. He's now positioning his car wide nicely here, trying to get the better exit, going on the power early, using a little bit of that overtake, and then could go for the move on Fatality on the long straight. Is using his overtake now. He's using quite a bit of it. DRS has been enabled. Let's use about 10% of it, but it is not enough to go for an overtake. And in the meantime, Kamke has actually dispatched Ratmat and taken over position 3 as Oshin now in turn 2 made the move on to Senna. Another unconventional spot to go for it. He's made it work.
Yep, he absolutely has. They're battling all throughout the field as well, off the road there. Goes Fatality, he's going to rejoin, it's still in a battle as well as Miami is also going to try, get past both of them, that's going to be late in the brakes. Does he dive to the inside? That is brave when they're off the road. And he's also going to take Fatality out wide with him, and that's going to open the door for Quinn, who is going to say thank you very much. He's gained a few places with that scrap going on, but we knew it was going to get a tiny bit aggressive, and it absolutely has, as Fatality tried to put a nose in there on now of Rydog, and now he's all out of shape, and Redman having to take avoiding action to avoid hitting a Fatality as well. But now getting really close to contact in this race as they all try to push and try make some more overtakes.
Redman and Fatality lost a lot of positions due to that move there. Miami went for a very big dive, and instead of taking over position 4, has now dropped to 7th as he's now under pressure from JM, our championship leader. Remember, he started all the way in the back, and after 14 laps, he is now back in P8 and not too far away from our leaders either, as he is within 3 tenths of the driver in front, which is Miami, but he's used all of his ERS in order to try and make overtaking moves. So he will be struggling for ERS, and that might come back to bite him in the butt later on throughout this race. Although does have some really good pace here to try and get closer to Miami and Quinn, as Miami is trying to look down the inside of Quinn, who decides better of it as well. The biggest profiters of that mistake from the previous lap, of course, Quinn and also Jonas, who's now in P5 on those soft set of compounds. The only driver currently on the softs. The 3 drivers on the hards, being Radmat's Specialist and APX, and all of our other drivers currently on the mediums. Up on front, not too much has changed, with Oshin having a 7/10 gap over Senna.
Absolutely. As they make their way through, now Miami is going to surely be looking for a move on Quinn, and obviously Miami trying that very late dive bomb as well, right down at turn number 5, right after the DRS as well, made it 3 wide, and kind of caused a bit of that little scrap that, and it backed everyone off as well. Now let's see if you're going to be able to make an easy pass on Quinn. That's exactly what we're looking for. He's going to be alongside for a few seconds, then you'll be able to tuck back in, getting close once again for the race leader. Senna closes back in. As Fatality versus Red Mat once again, Fatality makes that move. Apex picks up a 5-second penalty. That's because he's retiring from the race inside the pit lane as well, so that he won't go any further in this one. So 3 retirements so far in this race. Let's hope we don't get any more and all of the rest of the drivers are able to finish.
Well, the good thing for this is because our top 12 is going to be picking up points, and there's also one fastest lap for the drivers outside the top 12. It means that if you finish P13, you're at least going to pick up a point regardless of what is going to happen. So that is nice for them, as we have yellow in sector 2. That's Rydog, who has spun out. Let's see if there has been contact, but it looks like he has both of his front wing end plates still intact. so I'm not sure if he was spun out or spun out by himself. But regardless of it, no damage for him. As further down the field, JM is trying to get closer towards Quinn. He's now within 2.5 tenths, is using his overtake already, but he does not have too much to try and go for an overtake. But we have Quinn saving for it as well, and with both of them having DRS, he knows he will have to slot in behind and try and go for a move, but he will need to go around the outside of turn 1 of the Primera. And he goes very wide throughout the outside. Quinn went too much to the inside, forcing him all wide, but now down the outside of turn 3 has made that move stick and has picked up that position from him, but immediately will have to defend as well because he does not have any DRS here. Down the inside, a little look from Quinn, but he's not able to take a hold of that position. JM moves up into 7th.
Yep, JM there able to improve, got very tight, and JM there picks up a penalty as well because he runs a tiny bit wide there. But yeah, JM finally taking a position that he wanted to win a couple of corners before he was able to initially make that move as well. Ushin there, 9/10 of a second ahead of Senna. So Senna struggling a tiny bit. So that was the crucial thing. Obviously, Senna losing the lead and just not able to stick with him too much now. Rydog gets a 3-second time penalty. The Madder looking very good as well. Only 3/10. Make that 4/10 out is just changing between the two as well. Behind Cam came up, currently running in 3rd position as well, and then Fatality as JM dives it into the pit. So JM's going to dive it in, but Fatality's going to try and get past Quinn, heading down into turn number 1. This could get risky because they both have DRS. So Fatality not having the speed there, but he is going to just run a tiny bit too wide to get an extra warning and then a penalty for that one. But both of them are having DRS, which means Quinn was just able to keep it. Rydog could well be another retirement from this race, and is. So 4th retirement, as he's not going his way either, so he decided to end his evening early.
In the meantime, Gazaman has just lost a position to Specialist. We saw JM go for a fairly early pit stop, and it looks like he has come out on the medium set of compounds still. So he has made the 2 mandatory stops, but will need to drive 15 laps on the mediums, which he only drove 8 laps earlier on. So he might go for a 3-stopper here and perhaps switch to some softs later on in the race. Because remember, because he did not have to do any qualifying runs, means he has 3 sets of fresh soft tires still available to him. Already used 1 at the start of the race, so 2 sets remain. So I think that 3-stopper might come into play for him later on, but I think the other drivers will likely go for longer stints. But the tires actually not lasting all that long. I would have expected the mediums to at least last 13 or 14 laps, as the drivers are now entering lap 10, but it looks like they are already pushing it a little bit. But if this is the max, then these drivers that are now in mediums will need to switch for the hards and try and end the race on that. And yeah, for Jonas, he has made those softs work for a very long time, 10 laps in total, but he is now losing time towards Cam K, so he might need to go for a stop in a moment's notice, as the Matter and Cam K have come awfully close to Senna, who I think made a little mistake because the gap to Oshin is now 2.9 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely, and the Matter was actually having a go around the outside as well, heading down into turn number 5. So this battle now starting to form. Senna not having the best of pace on those medium compound sides, as we talked about earlier on, losing first of all to Ushin, and then obviously now falling into the clutches of the drivers behind the Madder, and Cam K Mum also right behind this as they come out of the last corner. And I think the Madder's going to try and make this move, use a bit of ERS out of the last corner, use that to close up, and then if Senna isn't diving it in, which it looks like he is going to dive it in, he doesn't want to be on the set of compound tires, which are not giving him the performance that he would like. It's not really suiting him at all, so he's going to change as he comes into the pit lane.
Well, let's see for which tires he's going.
Oh, another set of mediums.
He's actually going for another set of mediums. So he does think that he can make those mediums last for 13 laps, even though he did not seem to have the pace on them compared to Oshin. And because Oshin is still running on those mediums, can go for a little bit of a longer stint now and have softer or at least the fresher tires compared to Senna to try and drive it out. So he currently is in the hot seat to win that race. Most of our other drivers, yeah, it looks like 10-11 laps really are about the edge of what you can do, although Jonas has made those softs last for 11 laps, which is a crazy amount of time. And yeah, for JM, as we mentioned before, he will need to make 15 laps too on those mediums, as he's now about 8 seconds behind Senna. So he does not seem to be having the best race of the season so far.
Absolutely. As well as out of the last corner, now goes the Maddox to continue on as well. So all of these guys continuing, but Senna really getting off that stint early on. As we said, so he just wanted another set of mediums. Let's see if will it be able to give in the performance that he wants at this stage now, as Redmap comes into the pit lane, and so does Quinn. So those two dive it in to the pit lane as well, and they put on a set of medium compound tires. But a few other drivers taking it a bit more longer, and as you said, they can pit a bit longer, and then they might even come out behind, but they'll have a lot of pace to just fly past Senna with.
I think at this stage the drivers coming in will all be switching for those mediums. The only driver that can't do that is Kamke, because Kamke started on the mediums, has switched to mediums, so we'll either need to go out long and then go for the softs, so which they can probably do 8 or 9 laps, or come in a little bit sooner and then switch for the hards if they're going to decide to come in now. Curious to see what their pace is, at least for the time being, because a switch to the softs might be the more favorable option if the tires can last at least a little bit longer. But it looks like, as we see them come through turn 14 and now 15, sliding a little bit, but still taking a wide line, so are continuing. Oshin is also doing the same thing. Let's see if any of our drivers are going to be coming in, as Fatality has picked up 3-second time penalty for those track limits. For the top 7 so far, no other drivers coming in, and Gazaman also deciding not to go in yet. The drivers behind that have come in for their second stop already. Let's actually look at the stops and see who has completed the sequence. So F1 Specialist does not have to make a pit stop anymore, and he was on the hard set of compound, so he is a driver to look out for, because he has an 11-second gap over Senna. So he can lose about a second a lap and still keep that provisional lead over Senna. So a driver to keep an eye on. Behind that, Senna, JM, Quinn and Ratmat also have their 2 stops completed, with Gazaman still needing to make his stop in between there in P8, and our top 6 all have to make pit stops still.
Absolutely. As they currently make their way through. Right now, as about to go on to lap number 23 is Ushin, your race leader. He's going to be diving it in to the pit lane though, as he does so. So he's gonna, so the matter will continue on. Camcom will dive it in. Miami will continue on. So some drivers continuing on, some drivers now thinking it's the best time to dive it into the pits.
Yeah, this looks like around the perfect time if you want to go for mediums, and we actually see Oshin go for the softs. So they think that 10 laps on softs are possible, but then again, if Jonas can make it last for 14 laps, then 10 laps is not out of the question, and Kamke has also switched to the soft. So strategy-wise, Kamke has done a great job, and I think the same can be said about Oshin, who's going soft, medium, soft, so having perhaps even the perfect strategy. Fatality also coming in. He's also going for the soft sets, as Oshin has now come out behind Senna only slightly. So I think he'll be trying to go for a very quick overtake. Now those softs are still fresh, because Senna's tires are already 3 laps old, and he's running the mediums.
Yeah, Fatality also, when he did come in, did get a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, so that's also very unfortunate for him as well. But yeah, softs now seem like a good option, especially if Jonas has been able to make it work for so long as well. So definitely a possibility. So now let's see how quickly is he going to be able to dispatch Senna, and he's already all over the back as expected. Into the pits comes the Magic now as well, and he's obviously going to be joined by Miami. And Jonas is still going to continue on, as Ushin is about to most likely take the lead take the net race lead off the Grand Prix.
He's already using a little bit of overtake and is already so close even before the start-finish line. Tries to make that overtake stick, but I think Senna is also using a little bit of ERS to try and defend from this move, but there's no way to make that stick here, as Oshin has now taken over P3 in the race, but to what we believe is the net race lead, because we mentioned Specialist had, with 11 laps to go, 11 seconds of a lead over Senna. That is now Oshin, and the gap is 7 seconds with 9 laps to go. So it looks like that gap is not sustainable. So perhaps for Specialists it would be best to come in at the end of this lap and put on some fresh soft tires and try to go for some overtakes, because they should come out in P11 if they go for that pit stop. Further down the field we see the Matter coming very close to Kamke, who in turn is about 5 seconds behind Senna. So I think our battle for first is going to be fought out between Oshin and Senna, and the second podium spot, at least now, being fought out between the Matter and Kamke.
Yep. And also Kamke having to send one as well to the inside of turn number 5 to make that move as well, because the Matter rejoined the circuit ahead, but obviously with colder tyres wasn't able to keep it. Jonas now coming into the pit lane, and as we said, Specialist this time not big enough as well, so he's surely going to be chased down with a soft compound. It's already 5 seconds and it'll soon become under that as well. There we go, he's already lost 2 more further tenths. He's going to be losing it very quickly. Specialist, they're not really going to be too much of an issue, but yeah, it's going to be an interesting scrap between Kamke and the Matter as well, as they're going to battle for the final place on the podium. This will become when they do dispatch Specialists.
Yeah, we see the rear light of Kamke blinking, which means that they do not have a lot of ERS to their disposal. It's 10% to be precise, and the Matter having 36%. If you look at the other drivers out there, Senna at 29%, Oshin is on 14%, but he has crucially managed to get a 1.7 second gap. So he has managed to drive himself outside the arrest zone that Senna could use. Also making up a lot of time towards Specialists up front. Last lap was able to gain 2 seconds and is looking to gain about 2.5 seconds. And this lap now, which really means that Specialist has to go for a pits now if he wants to make anything work. And he is still continuing and trying to at least extend his stint here on the hard. So it's not like he has some very bad pace here, but these soft and medium runners are just quite a bit quicker currently on the track, as the Matter now comes close to Kamke, driving on the inside and is going to make that move work as well. Picks up P4, provisional P3 that is for the time being, because Specialist also picked up a 3-second time penalty for track limits, and the same goes for Miami, who is currently P6.
Yep, same thing there as well, as you said, for Miami, and Ushi now 1.7 seconds. The gap currently he's just gonna be able to make that one very easily as well, as they go through, and the Matter and Kamke both obviously battling for that 4th position right now, which soon will become 3rd as well. And we're almost getting to the end of this race, and usually I don't want races to end, but this one I kind of do, because obviously I didn't get any sleep last night, busy with all sorts of other events with F1 23 and also the Japanese Grand Prix and all of that stuff, so all nighter and haven't been able to get all sleep today as well, so I'm really excited to get to my bed. But luckily I've been able to maintain energy as Ushin roars his way past now. Easy pass for him on the straight to get past Specialist.
And he has now overtaken the lead, so driving with the #1 car, seeing a #1 Red Bull in front of a race is unfortunately not something uncommon that we see in the F1 world. Saw the same thing happen this morning as well in Japan, with quite another dominating performance from the #1 car, and is looking to pick up quite a bit of points here in the season too, because he was 40 points behind in the standings going into this race. Currently the #1, the championship leader, is in P8, so will not be picking up all too many points, and Oshin picking up 25, perhaps even 26 if he manages to hang on to that fastest lap. although it actually might be GM who currently holds that fastest lap time, but is going to do some good business in the championship and is going to make the season at least a little bit more interesting, because he is also going to break that run that JM has been making from race 2 all the way through to the previous racer, to 5 races in a row, including 2 sprint races, only podium places for him. And that run today is finally going to end, because I don't see him picking up too many places from P8 unless we're going to see a very late safety car. But because the safety car can only come out a few laps towards the end, it will have to happen now, or it won't happen at all.
Absolutely, Jonas there. Getting past JM to move up to 8th position as well on the soft once again. Getting past the medium runner of JM. With really a weekend that, or really a race day that just hasn't been his. Took the engine penalty. Maybe it might even be a poor circuit for him, which is the reason why he decided to take this circuit. And he obviously can't afford to take this weekend off with the... he can afford to maybe not score as much as points as he's usually scoring with the points advantage. He has the perfect opportunity for him to do so. But obviously we saw quite a few in the sprint race, and sprint races are really good opportunity to do so, because remember, you can recover in the sprint as well. You get a sprint race to recover, and then you can also start, and then you've already recovered quite a bit, so you start your main race in a good position. Quinn picking up a 3-second time penalty there. So another one there for Quinn. Currently running in last position of the runners currently as well.
He has gone for a very late pit stop, so he's on the freshest tires all the way throughout the field, so could go for a fastest lap and pick up an extra point because of it. So we're currently still on board with Jonas, who is very, very close to fatality up in front, and he's going to use that DRS to make that move work and move himself up into P7. Meanwhile, towards the front, we see Specialist actually maintaining a little bit of a gap towards Senna, who has in turn just been overtaken by the Matter. Senna really not having the pace on the medium that he would have liked to, but because of strategy, does have to do 2 runs on it, and that is not working out the best for him. But Specialist, staying out currently, is still making those cars survive for quite a bit, and because he's not losing all too much time to the drivers behind him, he could actually pick up quite a nice classification by going for that alternative strategy. So stopping twice under the safety car, swapping for ours, might actually be a super great strategy for him, as he's looking to pick up quite a few points here. As we have 4 laps to go, might even be a top 5 finish for him.
Yep, could definitely be on the cards as well for him. And now the Mad Up is going to try also take 2nd position in this race, and he's just going to pull easily with DRS. Even before he has DRS already alongside, and when he does open that rear wing, he's going to be moving ahead as well. So the Mad now takes 2nd position, and Senna will most likely be following through very shortly, lap 30 of this one. But Specialist could still get himself a good result, I have to say. He has a 2-second penalty, that's one thing for him, but still could get himself a decent result in the points.
Yeah, the penalty is the only thing really working against him, because it doesn't look like Senna's coming all too much closer. Maybe it's only a couple tens that he's coming closer, but that would not be enough to go for an overtake unless he manages to get within the DRS zone just before the final lap ensues. Yeah, that 3 seconds really come in to bite Specialist, as we're going to come across the finish line in 3 laps. The Matter has 3.8 seconds to try and gain onto Oshin if he still wants to get that race win, but I think if Oshin doesn't make any mistakes here, he should be picking up that win fairly easily here, and with a great strategy going for the win here in Portugal. In the meantime, Senna has actually closed the gap to Specialist. It's only 1.1 seconds, it was 1.5 at the start of the race. And if he manages to slot himself within DRS range, could already pick up DRS this lap and then make it easier for him. Has indeed picked up the DRS here, so he's going to use this lap to close the gap. And then when we are in lap 32, likely go for the overtake and take that final podium position away from Specialist.
Yep, absolutely. As they head through on lap number 31 of 33 in this one, but Senna now inside that 1 second. He is, and with DRS will surely be trying to make the move as soon as possible. But Jonas also appearing almost inside the 1 second. Now he's inside the 1 second of Kamke Mum. And they're also going to be getting closer to, or they're going to attempt to get closer to Specialist as well. So, still, there will be a few more places still yet to be sorted. Oshin is on his way to victory. The Mada in second. That seems to be sorted. But the rest still are a tiny bit close, so they could still be up for grabs for any of the drivers if they are able to improve any places. Or also depends how quickly you can make the move on Specialists as well. For example, Senna not able to make it the quickest, which has got it right on the cusp of Kamke Mum getting inside the 1 second, and we know how crucial the DRS is. And now Senna knows he's got to make this overtake, and he's going to use a lot of ERS to pull out of the slipstream and make that move with ease. Jonas also going to pull alongside Kamke Mum and dive to the inside of turn number 1 and get that move done, as well as he's now going to try and chase after Specialist. He's already going to get the place with Specialist 3-second penalty, but he'll probably want to do it on the circuit as well.
Yeah, with the current gaps that we have here after the 3-second time penalties, I mean, from Miami onwards, all the drivers have their penalties, so it looks like Specialists could be finishing in the P6 here after penalties applied, and that would be really, really impressive for him, considering that he was mostly down the back of the field earlier on. So if he manages to pick up a P6 or even better, he is definitely my driver of the day for tonight, although we still have 2 laps, well, about a lap and a half to see if anything more is going to happen. Because of the overtake that Jonas was able to make onto Kamke, now moving himself into the DRS zone of Specialist as well. But will he have enough time to dispatch Specialist on track, or will he have to look more behind and try and keep Kamke at bay? We're now going to see as he comes down around corner 14, but it's actually Specialist who has been gaining time up onto Senna again. So Senna not out of the woods yet. Specialist, yeah, we see Senna immediately going for defensive action. Specialist just making use of that DRS zone here down the long straight. Might not be overtaken on track because of this, and that could help him a lot to secure P6.
Could have saved him indeed. Miami there, thinking about a late send as well. He does have that penalty, but once again, I don't think he really cares at this stage. Getting a position on circuit would still be great for him. Always, there's always that thing that you could possibly get maybe a penalty removed, and always, so you should always go for it. The opportunity is there sometimes for the drivers, but gonna be interesting. Yellow flags are out though as well, just momentarily out on the circuit, but we are now continuing on with Oshin about to take victory.
We're now on board with Oshin making his way around the final 2 corners, so through Sagres, which he is now, and then going through Galp, our final corner. We see that Jonas was actually momentarily very close to Specialist, but the gap is not close enough. That doesn't matter, however, because the race win goes to Oshin. Provisional race win for him here. The Matter coming in second, and rounding off the podium is looking to be Senna, using up all of his ERS. The Specialist now with his penalty is going to drop a few positions, which means that Jonas is going to come in P4, Kamke in P5, and an amazing P6 for Specialist with that great alternative strategy. Definitely my driver of the day here, as we see Miami come through in 7th, JM in 8th, our championship leader, and then the rest being rounded off by Redmat, Fatality, and then I think Gazaman and Quinn, although penalties might swap those final positions around. Who is your driver of the day here today, Obi?
Well, it's got to be between, for me, Jonas and Oshin, so I'm probably going to pick between one of those 2 as well. We'll probably take about 1 or 2 minutes to decide while you run through the results, but yeah, going to be really, really interesting to... but it was really an interesting race from both of them, so yeah, let's hope that let's see them, as we're also going to see them head through, as I'm just trying to get my controller back connected. I accidentally disconnected it.
That's all fine, as we're currently watching the podium celebrations before we are going to move on towards the full results. In the meantime, we can see the tier 1 tier that's currently all live on YouTube is going to likely have a wet race. So if you are interested in a very wet race, do make sure to tune in with the P1 tier after we have closed off the stream in about 5 or 10 minutes from now. But here are your final standings for the race. Remember, results are still provisional. We have to wait for them to be confirmed. But it is Oshin picking up the race win here, also having fastest lap, 26 points to his name. Second place, The Matter, followed by Senna, Jonas, Kamke, Specialist with that great strategy, Miami, JM, championship leader, picking up 4 points here, so losing 22 points out of that 40 gap lead that he had. Ratmat, Fatality, Gazaman, and the Quinn finishing in the race, and then with Rydog, APX, Camerals, and Speed Titan retiring. Point is actually a little bit different because here at One Hub Racing we do use slightly different point systems as we use in the game, but most importantly, the fastest lap and a race win does go to Oshin. Now, like I mentioned, F1 Specialist definitely deserves the nominee for Driver of the Day from my end. And my question, of course, is for you. What was going through your mind when you made that call to go for the double pit stop under the safety car and go all the way through to the end on those hards? What led you to make this decision, which seemed to work out quite well at the end of the race?
Absolutely. And I am also going to go for Jonas as well, another driver who went with the same strategy but was able to recover quite a few places, obviously. So great stuff by Jonas, and just double checking as well. Yep, he did have also an engine penalty. So he said his goal was to finish in the top 10. So my question to him would be, do you think do you think you were going to be able to take P4? You said you were going to get the top 10, but do you think P4 or close to a podium was on the table for him, and was he expecting such a good result as well? So that would be my question for him. But both of these drivers, obviously Jonas and obviously Specialist, both making their way through the field and really doing really well as well through the field and starting further back and coming through.
Okay, thank you very much for that. So that rounds off at least our nominees for this race weekend. As in the meantime, I'm going to take you through to the calendar once more before we're going to have some closing words about our drivers. So we have now had our first 7 races of the season. We just saw the ERT of Portugal at the Autodromo do Algarve, or the Algarve International Circuit. And next week we are heading out to the wonderful Spa-Francorchamps for the ERT race of Belgium, where we've already seen some amazing races in the past. So definitely looking forward to that. Another race where rain can really come into play here. The longest race on the calendar as well, and perhaps one of the most iconic with Eau Rouge and Radulon, as well as some other key areas with the most notably bus stop chicane all the way at the end. So a very cool race that we're going to be having next week as well. Next week I'll be jumping back into the P3s again. So for P2 you will see our standard lineup, of which Omi of course is a part of as well. Do you have any closing words on our drivers or anything that they mentioned throughout or prior to the race?
Nope, other than obviously make sure you join obviously the P1 tier as we've already mentioned, and make sure you join us next week as well.
We will definitely make sure to do that. Remember, next week here P2 tier will be on YouTube with the on Twitch, sorry, with the other 2 tiers, so P3 and P1 being on YouTube again. And before we have a quick words of our sponsors, we are going to end it here. So once again, going through that, our sponsors that we have with NLR to start, who is going to give the champions, one of the champions, the FGT Elite Light Cockpit and the Elite ES1 Sim Racing seat. So either the winner of P3, 2 or 1 is going to pick that up. And as well as one of the drivers in the tiers in second and third in the championship are going to be picking up the GT Light Cockpit and the ERS2 Racing seat. And once more, for all drivers a chance to get the NLR Wheel Stand 2.0 if they participate in 10 races during this season. Now we have Aztec, sponsoring these nice boots for the shortest combined qualifying time, and with Pure Sim Gear adding on that for the most fastest laps and poles combined, a pair of either gloves or socks made by them. Now we have mystery sim box with a mystery shirt box that they'll be giving to the winner of the One Hub driver rankings, which I believe was one of the drivers of P3 tier who was leading that up until this week. But perhaps after this week we might see one of the P2 drivers take over that first slot. And then we also have a Vespertine, ERT, ERT of course with our Going Get Stuff award, which we can see here. And the driver who attends all races, finishes outside the top 3, and completes all pre and post race interviews. One of them has a chance to win some Aztec SimSource prizes, which is likely going to be that t-shirt that you saw on the previous slide on the screen. And then finally we have SimGrid and the Mental Health Foundation. I think that rounds off everything that we would like to talk about. So like I mentioned, next week we have Belgium. What are your thoughts about that, Obi?
Belgium, a very exciting circuit, of course, a very long one. So obviously we're gonna be. So it's gonna be interesting to see how the racing does go there. You have the long straight, so a lot of passes, repass, pass, repass again. We're going to see a lot of repassing that for the lead and a lot of changes. So it's going to be a great race and not one for all of you to miss.
So with that, we are rounding off the stream for today. This was your round 7, the ERT of Portugal. Still 5 rounds remaining in this season for P2. Next week we'll be back at 7 p.m. British time, which is 8 p.m. European time, as we will be on YouTube. And for the other tiers, an hour earlier you'll catch P3 tier with myself on YouTube, and an hour later at 8 p.m. British time you will find the P1 tier, the top-notch drivers here on YouTube as well. So for tonight, thank you very much for tuning in, and we will see you all again next week. Good night.